Hello, my name is Henry Harper. Thanks for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about turning strategy into execution with the four disciplines of execution. So, to start, I want to talk about our team. We're a five-person team who works on marketing for the ASU club basketball team and doing media stuff. And with that, we have a lot of systems that we've already created and we're in habits already. So, what if those habits have to change? So, as you guys know, I'm technically the creative director. What if I come to you guys and say, hey guys, just so you know, we're changing some things up. Starting today, rather than posting 3 times a week, we're going to post 5 times. That's called a stroke of the pen change. In other words, I pretty much just I pretty much made the decision that posting 5 times is better for our strategy. So we're going to do that. But that's not exactly how it works. Actually posting 5 times, that is real change. And that's called behavioral change. That's what leans on all of us because we need to change our habits in order for it to actually happen. And with that, stroke of the pen changes are easy. They're the thoughts, they're the ideas that they might be the words, but they're not the action. For these changes to actually happen, behavioral change must occur. Simply put, the success of stroke of the pen changes are dependent on the action taken by real behavioral change. And this is what the four disciplines of execution deal with. So, with that, what are the four disciplines? Um, so right before I get into that, I want to talk about the book. And early on in the book, there's a quote that says, the real problem with execution is not a lack of strategy, it's a lack of clarity and focus. And for that, I want to use an analogy. Imagine we're on a rowing team. And on that rowing team, we, of course, want to get from here to there. This is us, and this is the finish line. In order to do so, I direct you guys and I say, guys, let's row to here. And we do. We get to the finish line. But looking back, it was a long journey. We took a lot of twists and turns that we didn't need to take. This represents us now. We're all doing great work, but without clarity and focus, we waste time and effort by taking all these little turns. And with that, we aren't very satisfied once we get here because it took us so long to get here and we put so much into it. So, how can we fix that? Well, let's try again. Imagine this time I say, we're going to row to the finish line, and every 3 seconds, we're going to row. On 3, everybody row, and we're going to do that to get there. Well, as you'll see, this time it was a lot more streamlined. And because of that, we got there faster and used less effort by simple coordination. And that brings us to discipline 1, wildly important goals. So, what are they? A wildly important goal is a goal that we can all aim at. So, an example of a bad goal would be increase qualified leads this season. So, that's clearly bad because how many qualified leads? How quickly should we do it? What should I do to increase the qualified leads? Whereas a better goal would be increase qualified leads from Instagram from 30 to 50 by April 30th, 2026. This is because it's a lot more just laid out for you. It's a lot more clear. And that's where we get to WIGs. A WIG is a wildly important goal. And the formula for a WIG is what you're measuring, from where, to where, by when. So looking back at our goal that I said was good, increased qualified leads from Instagram is what we were measuring. From 30 is where we're at, 250 is where we want to be. And by April 30th, 2026 is clearly when we want it to happen. And by doing this, now we are all looking at the same goal. And no matter what we're doing, we're shooting at the same target. But it still might not be clear, because how do we actually achieve gaining from 30 to 50 qualified leads? Well, that brings us to discipline 2, act on lead measures. There are two types of measures, lag and lead. Lag measures, they measure the results of a goal you're trying to achieve. Example, gaining Instagram followers. I can't just tell you to go gain Instagram followers. As great as that would be, that's not how it works. We have to know how to gain Instagram followers. And that's what a lead measure is. It's a trackable action that has direct impact on the wildly important goal. So let's say we did some research and we're led to believe posting 5 Instagram reels a week will gain us Instagram followers. In this scenario, this is, of course, would be a atrocious wig, but the lead is resulting to the lag. And that brings us to discipline 3. Because even with good goals, it doesn't mean they're going to happen. I can lay it out as clearly as possible, and there is still issues. It doesn't mean stuff is going to get done. So that's why we keep a scoreboard. On this scoreboard, it will be viewable to you guys at all times. And it'll measure how far are we on our wig. How much time has gone by since we started it? In this example, we've used 27% of our time and achieved 41%. That's awesome. And again, this is all hypothetical, not whatever, but goal versus actual reels posted weekly. Here, it measures every week and the numbers of reels we've posted each week. Now, this helps us track the bigger picture and that what we're doing actually is feeding into something. And then lastly, we're going to track our own lead measures. We create our own lead measures. Obviously, there's a pot to pick from. We can't just do anything. It has to make sense. But we all come up with our own commitments in order for us to stay engaged and feel fulfilled with what we're doing. Because if we're not satisfied with what we're doing, then it's not going to be very fun to do it. So as you can see, my goals were to post an Instagram reel, DM 25 influencers inquiring about collabs, 3 photo-based meet the player posts, and comment on 40 creator posts. And what can we see? I posted my reel and I did my 3 photo-based posts, but I kind of lacked on the DMs and I really lacked on commenting. And with that, now we can see these were lead measures that I committed to and I did not achieve. So how can we fix that? How can we get to a point where we're all achieving what we say we're going to do? Well, that brings us to our 4th measure, create a cadence of accountability. Looking back at our scoreboard, you can tell everything is measured on a week. That's purposeful. That's because no matter how good your system is, you're still bound to have moments where you lose motivation, where you don't feel like you want to do what you committed to. It happens. It's human. But we want to foster a sense of community where we can fix that, where we can help each other. And that's why we're going to implement WIG meetings. A WIG meeting is a meeting at the same time, same place, every single week. And these are not your typical meetings. These are not going to be an hour long talking about bullshit that you don't care about. These are going to be very quick, just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page. With that, we're going to cover three main things. Those three things are reviewing our overall progress on the wildly important goal. In addition to that, it will be to report on our previous week's lead goals. Thinking back to the scoreboard that I had, maybe I overcommitted. Maybe I couldn't do what I said I could, or maybe I just needed help. Either way, it all funnels together and it all creates a sense of community and leaning on each other's shoulders. Then lastly, it will be to make commitments for new lead goals for the next week. And that will help us just recommit and always stay fresh and new about what we're doing and what we're aiming at, just to make sure that our wildly important goal is moving forward. And with that, that brings us to the end. That is all 4 disciplines of execution and things that we can do to properly execute and make things clear and focused. This is not to give you more work. This is so we can all be on the same page, do less work, and waste less time and make the work we do much more important as it feeds into the bigger picture. So let's climb the mountain together and reach the peak. Thank you.